Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the HSF alumni panel presented by Freddie Mac. Quick reminder for everyone to please mute their lines to avoid any background noise during today's session. My name is Jake Lopez. I'm on the fixed income marketing team here at Freddie Mac, working in credit risk transfer, and I'm joined by several panelists who are HSF alumni and also fellow members of OLA here at Freddie Mac. And we're excited to start this session with you guys today, and welcome back to anyone who was able to join us for our last session. Before we go over the agenda started today, we'll ask that everyone please take out their phones at mentimeter.com and use this code to fill out a quick survey so that we can learn a little bit more about those of you who are joining us today. And while that Menti is up on the screen, you'll be able to find those login details at the top. Let's see which university is the fastest. Ooh, UC San Diego, first place. Oh, here we go.
I can't. Oh, there we go. We can see.
Awesome. I love to see the word cloud getting bigger and bigger. Lots of representation, it looks like.
Berkeley in the house. I saw that.
That might be biased.
Just a little bit.
It's okay. We also have some College Park representing. Welcome to my fellow Terp. Nice. Looks like we have a big UF population. So welcome to all of you from all these awesome schools. We're excited to have you all. We've got one more question we want to ask you guys on this Menti. I see we still have some answers coming through, so I'll give it another couple seconds. That's great. Got almost the whole nation representing. All right, this is going to be our second and final question for the Menti to get us started today.
Oh yeah, this one's a good one.
Again, all across the board. Nice. Well, while we wait for the last few answers to come in, I'm happy to see that all of these options got a response because we'll be talking about all of these today. And then, of course, there'll be the opportunity to always learn more about any of these categories after this session concludes. So we'll go ahead and get started now. Thank you all for filling that out. It's nice to learn a little bit about you guys. So now to go over the agenda quickly, we're going to start going over kind of what Freddie Mac is, how we make home possible, a quick overview of the company, and then going over some of our highlights from last year. We'll then move into OLA at Freddie Mac and some of the business units and their respective analyst programs. And then the main bulk of the session will be our analyst panel at the end from our HSF alumni, where we'll get to hear about their personal experiences, and then you'll have the opportunity to ask some questions, and we'll have kind of an open discussion with our panelists today. With that said, if at any time during the panel or session you have any questions, you can feel free to use the chat function in Teams that you'll find on your Teams screen. There's also a raise your hand function. We may be able to answer those directly in the chat, and if not, you'll definitely have the opportunity to speak during our open discussion at the end and ask our panelists directly. So, without further ado, we'll talk about how Freddie Mac makes home possible. So Freddie Mac was founded in 1970 with the mission of providing liquidity, stability, and affordability in the housing market. We're kind of a unique financial firm. So how a high-level overview of how our business works. Lenders originate mortgages and loans to borrowers and people building multifamily units. These are entities like Quicken Loans, Wells Fargo, who give out the mortgages and loans. And once they do that, these loans go into their balance sheets, and they have reduced capital. And what Freddie Mac does is buy those loans and obligations from the lenders and put them onto our balance sheet to kind of replenish the capital that these lenders have and make it possible for them to continue issuing these mortgages and putting people in homes. So once Freddie Mac overlays all of its underwriting and QC on these loans that we purchase, we have them on our balance sheet, and in order to manage some of that risk, we issue MBS and CRT transactions, and this manages the interest rate risk, which is the risk associated with fluctuating interest rates through mortgage-backed securities. And we also manage the credit risk, which is the risk associated with borrowers defaulting on their loans through our CRT transactions. And Freddie Mac actually pioneered the CRT program back in 2013, so we're pretty proud of that. Moving on, looking at last year, some of our accomplishments, we were able to earn $7.8 billion in comprehensive income, managing a $2.1 trillion mortgage portfolio. With that, we were able to finance about a little bit over 2.5 million homes for borrowers and renters, and also provided over $550 billion in mortgage funding. And that's just in 2019 alone. Looking at Freddie Mac's mortgage funding since its inception, it's over $10 trillion, which is pretty incredible. We also earned some awards last year, including the U.S. Securitization Award for Deal of the Year from Global Capital with one of our CRT transactions, and we're looking forward to hopefully earning more awards this year. So now to take a look at what OLA is in Freddie Mac and some of Freddie Mac's business units. We'll start with OLA. So OLA was founded in 1999, so a little over 2 decades ago, as an employee resource group with the goal of providing an inclusive space for all Freddie Mac employees and people in the Latinx community. And we really aim to support young Latino professionals and enhance their careers and kind of support their success at Freddie Mac and in their personal lives as well. We transitioned from an employee resource group to a business resource group, which means in addition to all the resources and support that we provide employees and all of our members, we also are really trying to have an impact on the business itself and support Freddie Mac as a whole. And we now have over 450 members, and that number continues to grow. And our specific team in OLA is focused on some of the outreach engagement and really bringing in some diverse and strong talent into Freddie Mac. So in this picture, you can see a couple of our panelists that we'll hear from in just a little bit. And this is a partnership event, networking event that OLA did with some employee research groups from other companies. You can see Facebook, Deloitte, Bank of America, Capital One all joined. And we were able to connect and embrace each other's culture and, of course, get some great networking done. So now looking at some of the main business units at Freddie Mac. I know there's kind of a lot on the slide, so try and follow me as I run through these. Starting in the top left, you'll see our single family unit. This is where I'm coming from, so shout out to single family. And its focus is really keeping the mortgage funds flowing into the single family mortgage market, also promoting responsible, sustainable, and affordable home ownership. Jumping across to multifamily, it works pretty similar to single family, only in the commercial and multifamily rental space, but still providing that financing that's necessary to make sure that all these properties are able to keep getting originated and people are able to get into homes. Sitting in between those two, the one that I skipped over, capital markets, that sits in between single family and multifamily in this illustration because they really support both of those. And their main goals are enhancing the liquidity in the mortgage market and also actively reducing risk. And they do this through things like issuing deals and hedging some of the risk on our portfolio. On the bottom, you can see 2 additional units running across all 3. Those are finance and technology. Starting with finance, they support all 3 of those business units by providing analytics, reporting, accounting, different business management functions, and of course working with on corporate finance to support all these different units of the business. And then the backbone technology, we wouldn't be able to function without technology, so they're ensuring that all of our different tools and technology and platforms are up and running so that we're able to conduct our day-to-day business, and that our clients that use some of our tools, and we've got quite a few, are able to use those without any issues as well. On the right, internal audit, they also are core to the business and support all the units by providing, making sure that all of our business units are providing as much value as possible, and that we're functioning properly in the way that we need to in order to be successful in our functions. So that's an overview of all of our different business units. There's plenty more, but luckily today we're able to, our panelists represent all of these different business units, and now we'll have the chance to hear from them, starting with Elijah from IT. So Elijah, I'll pass it over to you, and you can share a little bit about your time at Freddie Mac.
Sure, thanks, Jake, or J-Lo. Yeah, so everyone, my name's Elijah Marquez, and I came through the multifamily college analyst program. As Jake mentioned, I'm currently sitting in IT, and that's one of the benefits that I'll talk to you guys about shortly. But a little bit about me, because yes, because we could get to know each other and reach out and connect. So originally from Kansas City, so I moved to Washington, D.C. To go to school at American University. Unfortunately, I didn't see no American University folks on there, so I got to reach out to my fellow students there. But anyways, so I studied business administration, and I've been at Freddie Mac for a little over 3 years now. So it's flew by. I guess they say, time flies when you're having fun. And I definitely have had fun at Freddie Mac. I've been a part of the BRGs, the Business Resource Groups, since I started. And so I was a little bit involved with our Pride, our LGBT resource group, and now I'm pretty involved in OLA. Through that, there's been just great connections and great networks that I recommend anybody definitely join ERGs, BRGs, whether you're at Freddie Mac or other companies, because the opportunities are limitless when you meet folks like that. I know we're going to try to keep this short, so if there's one thing to remember after hearing from me is with the analyst programs, I think the important part is really just to get your foot in the door. As I mentioned, I came through the multifamily college analyst program, and the great thing about Freddie Mac is once you're kind of in and you have interest or passions in different roles or different divisions, you're not stuck. And so that was my case, is I was very interested in being a part of this agile transformation happening at Freddie Mac. And so I had the opportunity to interview and apply for another role in a whole different division. So definitely know that just because you're entering in a finance program or you're entering in a compliance program, there are opportunities, and you'll hear that from a couple of other panelists today. So looking forward to connecting with you guys. Connect with LinkedIn and leave a little note that we've met virtually through this call, and then we can connect. So the next slide will share, it's a little bit of a lag, but basically I'll give you a preview. It's to show you a little bit of details about the IT college analyst program. And I think the deadline, I'm guessing, because I don't see it on the screen, but I know it's coming up perfect, September 25th. Definitely, looking for folks that have degrees in computer science, information technology, some other kind of more technical roles. But there's a lot of opportunities here. So definitely take a look. Aisha is a great person to connect with if you want to explore a little bit more about the program. So you see her name there, take a little picture so you don't forget it. We'll also send the slide deck afterwards, but if you're interested in the Technology Analyst program, go for it. You won't know unless you try, so give it a shot, and I'll kick it off to the next person to share more details about other analyst programs that are offered to you. So thanks for having me.
I believe that's me. Yes. Hi, my name is Estefania, and I guess a bit about me. I'm from California, and I went to school out in California at Berkeley. So go Bears. I saw a few of you on the call. And I joined Freddie Mac about 2 years ago. So I moved out here to DC. My first time here was when I was interviewing. So really the only folks you meet are the ones that have interviewed you. So that I got to know the people, and I really resonated. And so moved out here. I joined OLA the same time I joined the company, I think. And then you start joining all the other business research groups. So that's a huge community. One of the biggest benefits or takeaways I would have is from the business research group space, it immediately gave me the sense of community I was looking for. It's similar to the college experience. And it also has given me the opportunity to develop different skills for my current role. So I started off in the finance program and then went to the capital market space in credit risk transfer. And in the BRG space with OLA, it's a different skill set that I get to build. So definitely see how not only the roles that you're in, but also the whole company and the opportunities that they offer can provide you. And it's another way to get to meet people and grow your leadership skills. So I've definitely enjoyed that. Feel free to connect with me. I'm happy to share any more details. I know there's a few slides about the programs that I've been involved with that I can share. So the first one is the one I started off in, was the Finance Analyst program. So here there's 6-month rotations. You go through whether it be, finance supporting capital markets or a more corporate finance role. And that application is due soon, September 14th. So I recommend applying and reaching out, connecting with them. And then I believe the next program that I'm covering as well is there's a slight lag. I'm assuming it's the capital markets program, slide next. And if you're interested in this program, I recommend applying yesterday. It's a rolling application basis, and they're looking at interviews now. So, clean up your resume, practice your recording screen interview skills, and definitely apply and do your homework and reach out. And the last but not least is the single family business program. And that is also due, I think, a bit earlier. Yep, September 13th. And so this is really where you get to learn about like the real estate business, the products that we use with the lenders, any project management that we're doing, and some of the marketing for the folks or the sellers and servicers that we're buying loans from. So Gervine and Megan are great resources, and if you go through the recruitment process, Claire and Haley are common recruiters, and they're great, so definitely reach out to them and let them know that you're applying. And I think I will hand it off now to Berenice.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me? Yes?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, great. Hi, everyone. My name is Berenice Ortiz. I am a fair lending. I'm in the fair lending space here at Freddie Mac, and I started at Freddie as a compliance analyst. And just like Estefania, I went to Berkeley. And funny short story. We didn't know each other. Estefania and I graduated the same class, but we actually ended up getting introduced while at Freddie, while at the East Coast, through my mentor, whom we both met, I believe, through HSF. So it just kind of goes to show how much networking really is impactful and matters, especially when you're making career moves and moving across the country, right? So what else can I tell you? So I was a legal studies major, and I learned about Freddie at a HSF finance conference, and my mentor kind of brought me in and informed me of a compliance and internal audit rotational program, which is how I got my foot in the door at Freddie. And some takeaways, I would say, for you're uniquely positioned when you're coming in as an analyst, to really gain as much knowledge as you can from other areas, because people know you're fresh out of school, and most people will greet you with open arms, like, yes, I'll teach you about what I do, and it's really refreshing, because as you're coming in, you might think, I like this area, but oh, look, that looks interesting too, and maybe I like that a little bit more. So then it's really, the onus is on you, and everyone's willing to teach you a little bit and have you and help you learn, and you get to learn your space and where you feel like your skills are best applied. And I also wanted to make mention of our mission, because to me, one of the decision factors was the Freddie's mission to make home possible and making homes affordable, because as we know, home ownership is still an important factor in wealth building and generational wealth building, and to me, that was one of the key factors for joining Freddie. And if we go to the next slide, we have the internal audit internship program. And I will say that I think in particular, coming in in a risk management type role, you are uniquely positioned to kind of learn different areas within one division. So you have the opportunity to learn various different functions within single family, various different functions within multifamily, ICM, IT, and we have here Andres Palacio, who is the VP of Model and Data Analytics and Internal Audit, and I'm going to pass the mic to him so he can tell you a little bit more about the program and what they're looking for.
Hi everyone, thank you, Berenice. And a little secret too is I met Berenice, and then Estefania. I was the person in New York that she approached me and saying, "Hey, I'm in legal studies. What can Freddie Mac offer?" And of course, we have so much. Fair lending is also really interesting because of that mission, right? Of fairness in housing as well. So I'm very happy to speak to. I'm also an HSF alum. HSF helped me get through school, and I glad I saw Harvard there too. So yeah, excellent. All right, so I wanted to mention a little bit about internal audit, because this is something that it was to me a hidden secret, and I was like, I'm not an accountant, or I don't, nobody likes to get audited. However, I just wanted to mention that as Elijah and others were saying, is get your foot in the door. And actually what internal audit also offers is we audit the areas that you may also be interested, or if you don't know exactly what areas you might be interested in, well, you may go in one quarter audit capital markets, and then the next quarter you go audit single family business. So it's a fantastic first job to get exposure, build your network, and understand the business, and then say, hey, I really like that area. Let me go work with Berenice in fair lending or in capital markets, et cetera, right? So, and by the way, if you also do data science and mathematics and stats, that's my area, so please reach out. If you're interested in the other areas like IT and finance and economics and accounting, also reach out to me. I'll connect you to that right person. But anyway, thank you. Please reach out. In the chat message, I put my email. So and also feel free to connect with me in LinkedIn. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Andres.
And I will pass it on to Joseph to talk about multifamily.
All right, thanks, Berenice. Everyone, my name is Joseph, or I go by Joe Schilling. It's great to meet y'all. Thanks for coming today. I have an interesting background. I actually grew up in Seattle and then lived in Mexico for a while before going to UT Austin to study econ and finance. I've been at Freddie for about 7 months now, since late January, and pretty immediately joined Ola. Estefania and I knew each other from HSF, from several of the finance conferences. Before I joined Freddie, the last time we saw each other was at one of the finance conferences. Andres Palacio as well. That's where him and I met previously. And yeah, I mean, like, to echo what everybody has been saying, Freddie Mac is a fantastic role to not only learn about finance or different areas of finance, but not the real estate industry in and of itself, how we provide liquidity, stability, and affordability to the mortgage market, which is incredibly important, and where we develop our professionals and make sure that everybody, gets to figure out what it is that they like inside the company and tackle those interests and be able to develop their skill sets that way, like Veronice mentioned before. Besides all of those takeaways, one of the ones specifically to multifamily that I have been fortunate enough to be able to develop is the debt structuring and underwriting skill set in looking at commercial real estate. So the multifamily arm of Freddie Mac does exactly what we had mentioned before on the single family side, just in dealing with apartments, anything with 5 units or more, essentially. And so we do the exact same thing. We buy the loans from the lenders and then package them into securities and sell them to investors. The big difference here is that my team in production specifically looks at the underwriting of the deals, different geographies and different regions, different markets, and different creative structures to be able to underwrite and structure those loans appropriately so they get securitized into our bonds, or what we call K deals. And yeah, I mean, as for the multifamily analyst program in and of itself, the deadlines are September 18th. We welcome seniors for the analyst programs and rising seniors for the internships. Really, we specify a lot of majors here, but really it's any major. Like, my team lead, he was an English major, and quite frankly, one of the biggest things is that you show interest. Is if you were a psychology major or an English major, but you really like real estate and you have support for it and say, look, I like real estate because X, Y, and Z, like, there's no reason that it doesn't put you at a disadvantage at all. Yeah, so there's three different divisions in multifamily. There's production, which is the division that I'm in. There's underwriting, and there's capital market. Capital markets encompasses a broad range of desks. You could be in portfolio management, you can be in asset management and operations, you can be in trading and hedging, you could be in pricing, you could be in securitization. And that is kind of its own animal, right? And so the way we separate them is capital markets and production and underwriting. Now, in production and underwriting, you're in a more client-facing role, talking to the lenders and the borrowers. Say if, KKR or some big private equity firm wants to buy a property, they come to us for the money. And so that's how it goes through the process and then goes to capital markets. But yes, feel free to reach out with any questions to the multifamily real estate analyst program email. And additionally, I'll include my email as well in the chat for those that may have missed it on the previous slide. And feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn as well.
Thanks, Joe, and thanks to all of our panelists. Now for the second half of our session, we'd like to open it up for a discussion with our panelists and give you guys the opportunity to ask any questions on your mind, or if you want to hear anything from any of our panelists. I'd like to start it off with a question for Estefania and Elijah, our first two panelists on the screen. So considering that for all of you guys that Freddie Mac was your first real career experience, you were just coming out of college. Estefania, you moved across the country. How did some of the benefits that Freddie provide kind of help you with that transition into the real world and help you kind of be comfortable like as a working adult?
Sure. So I think the first one that I loved that I hope I get to take advantage of is the home assistance. And so, you know, Freddie Mac promotes home ownership, and they do that with their employees as well. So if you're part of Freddie Mac, I believe after a year of being here, you have the opportunity to take advantage of, I think it's $10,000 or $12,000 to put towards your down payment and closing costs on a home. And so maybe that's like I think more of a long-term goal, but for some of my friends that have done it at Freddie Mac, it's been so fun. I get to visit their home, and you know that was directly tied to where you work. And so seeing that full circle has been is a benefit that I want to take advantage of. And I guess another one that hopefully we get to do more often is just the campus itself. There's a cafeteria there. There's shuttles that take you from the metro to the office. And so it makes it really easy to live, you know, whatever area in the DC area that you want to be in. And the cafeteria is also reduced price. And so it makes the whole working situation and almost the community at Freddie really fun. So those would be the two things I'd say.
Yeah, I mean, I second. The cafeteria is amazing. There's 4 of them, or 3 of them. So you really don't have to walk far to get a good meal at Freddie Mac. But a couple of things for me that I was just wowed away with the benefits is how many people, well, I can't see you guys, but I'm just imagining. If you have student debt, raise your hand. If you have a lot of student debt, raise the other one. And so Freddie Mac, one of the great things is they help you with that. So if you are in one of those buckets and you need to knock some student loans down, they offer a student loan repayment. And so they pay down up to, I think it's $10,000 over the course of 5 years. So this is really speaking to folks that are coming out of college, folks that, really just want to like knock off 9,000. Like, it's a great feeling when you're not doing anything but working and also knocking those loans down. So that's definitely one that was like super important to me. The other one is really about, so if folks are using like the metro and things like that, so if you're in a city, you know how much those cost. Freddie Mac helps subsidize some of that commuting fee. So they basically cover up to, I think, 75% of the public transportation. So up to like $255 a month. So again, these are little savings that you don't think about right now, but trust us. I mean, those little benefits add up, and it really adds to the overall benefit that you get at a company like Freddie Mac. So definitely student loans. That's number one.
Agreed, for sure. Thanks, Elijah, and thanks, Estefania. I see that we have some questions in the chat. So I'll start with Marcel's. And he wants to know, so far, how long officially will you be working remotely? And I guess with that, you can kind of say how you've adjusted to working remotely and how Freddie Mac has helped with that. So Joe, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, absolutely. So far officially, we do not have a exact date to go back into the office. And that being said, we are going in phases, like a little bit of people here and a little bit of people there to ensure like the safety of all of the employees. And I know we've expressed this also publicly, like nobody's going to be forced to go back unless they feel comfortable doing so, right? So that's something that's huge that Freddie Mac has done that I believe is huge, because a lot of my friends are being forced into the office, like you have to come back. Freddie Mac doesn't do that. Additionally, one of the big things that they've enabled their employees to do is, it's in the multifamily division. I imagine this is company wide, but they gave us like a stipend to purchase equipment because to be more efficient at home and not only work through our laptops. And so to be able to recreate like an office setting at home, and Freddie Mac providing that is extremely helpful. So you don't have to spend anything out of pocket. And yeah, additionally, taking care of the employees, making sure that they're not going back unless they feel safe doing so. I think those are the two most important ones, and making sure that, being such a large company, the infrastructure is already in place for us to stay efficient, which I think is also very, a signature component of a company as big as ours.
Thanks, Joe. And thanks, Marcel. So we have another question that came in on the chat from Brian. He wants to know what kind of problems in technology will Freddie Mac's technology analyst program be working on. So Elijah, if you want to speak on that for Brian.
Yeah, so I don't think that's an easy answer. I think there's a lot of opportunities, but what I will say is kind of what the information that we shared about kind of the role of IT in the overall Freddie Mac company, which is really kind of to support the great work that the businesses are doing and the underlying technology for that. One awesome thing that I happen to be a part of, and I think it's if you're kind of in the tech world, probably a little bit about Agile as a software development methodology. And so Freddie Mac is currently undergoing an Agile transformation at our company. So that's a huge project that's happening company-wide that's kind of being spearheaded in the IT division. So if you're interested in that, let me know, because I happen to be on the team that is driving that Agile transformation. But I mean, when it comes to other problems, I would say there's probably tons of opportunities for us. So I think, college folks coming out of college are in a great opportunity because, you guys probably know a lot more about trends and things like that you can bring to the table. So if there are any additional questions for specifically for IT, definitely reach out to Aisha, because she'll probably have a lot more to contribute to IT. So, yeah.
Thanks, Elijah. So now I want to bring up a question that was submitted beforehand. Someone asked, if you're not a STEM major, is it still worth applying to one of the programs? Berenice, I know you studied legal studies, and when you were going through HSF, you were interested in the opportunities you could find at Freddie Mac with that kind of background. So do you want to speak on how people from all sorts of backgrounds are able to find opportunities and success at Freddie Mac?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is that realizing or recognizing that there's value in all different types of thought processes, and everyone kind of diversity in your approach to problem solving is valuable, and I think Freddie recognizes that, and I mean, even for like the internal audit internship, they do specify some STEM majors and that's on there, but they also were looking at me as a candidate, right? A legal studies person, because a unique different perspective is important, and I think going back to what was said earlier about just showing interest and wanting to learn and showing curiosity, that's really what's gonna propel you and make sure you're successful in your career. I think your major is not going to limit your potential possibilities. And so if your interest is there and your curiosity is there, I don't think you should let your your major kind of stop you from pursuing certain things.
Well said. Thanks, Bernice. Okay, it looks like we have another question from Marcel coming in with the awesome questions today. Estefania, this one will be for you. Can you speak a little bit about some of the technologies you get to work with, specifically the ones that you were able to work with during your analyst program?
Sure. So in the finance program, in the corporate finance area, I was using an Oracle product called Hyperion, which is also used at Capital One right across the street from us. So that's more like general ledger accounting. And then when I switched over to corporate forecasting, we were using Tableau a lot. So if you like data visualization and analytics, I really enjoyed that program. And now being in the capital market space in credit risk transfer, which is a rotation available through the capital markets program, we use a lot of internal models, and so we have to calculate, what our assets have in risk, and so internal models. We also do like SAS. I think SQL and Python are always valuable skills, and I remember I was in like a Friday lunch session where you got to learn Python and see how you could help automate certain data pulling processes. So there's definitely the opportunity to learn. And then at Freddie Mac, we also have FMU, which is the university. And so if you want to, like I'm taking a SAS class right now to learn and develop those skills. So there's also opportunities to develop that skill if you don't already have it.
Thanks, Estefania. All right, so I see that we got a question about some of the functions for capital markets, and we happen to have Christian Valencia, who's the Vice President of Securitization here at Freddie Mac and also sponsor of the Capital Markets Analyst Program. Christian, if you're able, can you please unmute and talk a little bit about the Capital Markets Analyst Program and some of the functions they do?
Sure. So yeah, thanks everyone for joining this meeting. Hopefully you can hear me well. The capital markets program provides opportunities to rotate among, 8 different desks, and some of them are credit desk, and some of these other ones are market-facing, desks where you will have opportunity to work. And on my team, I manage the credit risk transfer program on the security side, so that's staggered program. We have another program that's our sister program, which is the ACES, the reinsurance program. On top of that, on the credit side, we have our costing side, which it looks at determining the guaranteed fees that we charge our lenders in order to securitize the loans that we buy. And we have counterparty is another part of the credit role, as well as some of the securitizations that are done through our non-performing portfolio on non-performing loans and reperforming loans. In addition to that, we have other market-facing roles like our cash window, where they buy loans from the lenders. There's also our, asset liability management desk, our debt desk. And the asset liability management desk allows us to manage our interest rate risk. And that desk also supports our liquidity space. So they manage some of the assets that we have to hold in order to have the liquidity to purchase loans from the different programs, from the different lenders. And then we would go and have the debt desk that issues that in order for us to have that money to buy the loans. Beyond that, there's a securitization desk that's the one that issues our PCs. And those are some of the opportunities that you have through that. There's 4 rotations over a period of 2 years. You rotate through a credit desk initially or a market-facing desk, and then switch between that in your first year. The second year, there's a little bit more flexibility. And after those 4 rotations, you'll have then the opportunity to potentially get hired into one of those desks. It's not a guarantee that you'll get a role there, but from what we've had so far, this program, the analysts that have come to the program have gone to the desk to be in any of these full-time roles. And that's what we are seeing also for the new analysts that are going to be graduating next year. We would expect that it will be the same.
Great, thank you, Christian. This next one is a multifamily question. So Joe, this one will be for you. In the multifamily analyst program, what are some of the challenges or opportunities for professional growth that you've experienced?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think there's several, in terms of professional growth. There's a lot of things that you could actually go do. I personally can't say that I've experienced too many roles since I just started here in January. However, in terms of that professional development, there are several. So one of the big ones is to climb the ladder as an analyst, and then an associate, and then a producer, for then a director, and then a director, or a manager / director. A different one is to work a lot with the work on the other side of the industry, which is with our seller servicers. We deal with clients. Our clients are, I guess, our Optigo lenders, and you can look these up online. I'll write it down in the chat shortly, but we call them Optigo lenders, and they're CBRE, Walker and Dunlop, JLL, Berkadia. A lot of people, can think, well, I can work for them as well. That's a different progression that you may take. A lot of people, most of the people we see, are called boomerang employees. They leave the firm and then come back because they realize that they had it better at Freddie Mac. Not to boast about it, but that's what we call their boomerang employees. But to tack on to the professional development aspect is the skill sets that you learn are incredibly important, and you don't really see them anywhere else. Specifically in multifamily, the amount of volume that we see is incredible. Being the #1 multifamily lender in America, I didn't expect to see as many deals that I do coming into the program, and that's something you really don't get anywhere else. In 7 months, 7 months of being here, only, let's say, 3 months of training, I don't really work on any deals on my own. So for the last 4 months, I've worked on over, say, few $1 billion worth of deals, and that's a lot of properties. And so that experience that you get is really, second to none in the commercial real estate industry, and so that can open up a lot of doors. It's your choice to kind of see where you want to go. But like I said, and like Raveen mentioned, she's one of those boomerang employees. You can either stay or apply your skill sets elsewhere. There's a big broad range where you can go, where you could use them.
Thanks for sharing that, Joe. So for our next question, I'd like to break the answer out into 2 parts. If Elijah first. So the question is, and we've gotten it from a few people, can you talk a little bit about the recruitment process and interviews? So at first we could hear from Elijah to hear about how he prepared for his interview and what his experience was like. And then from Andreas, kind of from a leadership perspective, if we could hear about some of the qualities that you look for in candidates and some things that really stick out, that would be great. So Elijah, let's start with you.
Sure. Yeah. And it was a couple years ago. So if it might, if other folks have more fresh ideas, then definitely jump in. But from my experience, I know one of the really impactful things in the whole recruitment process was in multifamily, it was called Freddie Day. And I think single family counterparts do the same in IT, and they'll probably do it virtual this time. But that was really awesome because I was able to not only kind of network with folks that were also interviewing, but also I really got to get a sense of the culture and the people of Freddie Mac. And so that was a super win for Freddie Day. And obviously you do interviews, and I think at that time, it was like 3 different interviews and things like that. But I think the key question is, how do you prepare for an interview, especially when you're coming out of college? Like, obviously, you're going to have, your internships or your jobs, which are also equally important, no matter what they are. And so what I would suggest, and if I was interviewing again, is I think what folks are looking for is like, how do you problem solve? Like, how do you innovate? How do you think about whatever problems at hand? So I would recommend, if I was doing it again, is like, think about your experiences, whether in school or your internships, work. Think about a problem that you had, and then kind of walk through how you came to a solution. And so if you have a couple of those in the back of your pocket, you can pretty much tie that to any questions they have. So when they ask about innovation, when they ask about communication, you have those in your back pocket that you can pull out and be succinct and brief with. So that would be my interview tip that I would do if I had to go back and do it again. So on to the next.
And really quick, I'm Gurveen Hemrajani, lead the single family program, but I can speak on behalf of all the programs in terms of application deadlines. Most of us are very close to the mid-September date. So after that, if you look at the chat and see where to apply, and Estefania will probably send some of the information about the programs out, but they're about mid-September for applying for the analyst programs across Freddie for next summer. So if you're looking for a date.
Thanks, Irene. Andreas, if you're still with us, do you want to speak a little bit about some qualities that stand out for you?
Yeah, absolutely. So a little bit of background. So I head a department within internal audit, and we have an intern program, and we're propping up our analyst program as well. So whether it's one or the other, feel free to reach out to me and apply. So if you do apply, I think Elijah mentioned several things there. That are you well prepared? As Stefania mentioned about, do you understand the Freddie business? But then they could be canned responses. What I like to see is genuine personality, a good communication, and a good answer that you're prepared. So in other words, I can tell when people just read the financial statement and give me something, as opposed to, well, housing is really important, right? I had a family experience, and let me tell you about why housing is an interesting mission, right? Or I heard talks about gentrification being important to somebody, right? So the personality and what people find interesting, and connecting that to Freddie Mac, is what I think sets you apart from the canned answers. So I guess the point is, answer the question, but be genuine and let your personality come through, and be well spoken. I think also really helps make you stand out from others.
Thank you. Thanks to all 3 of you. Those are definitely all very helpful tips that helped me during the recruiting process, and you should definitely take note of as you enter the job market. Okay, so moving on to our next question. This one, we'll hear 1 to 2 words from all of our panelists. What do you miss the most about working in the office? And we'll rapid fire, starting with Estefania.
Oh, you can't make me choose. The people.
People? All right, Berenice.
Well, I think Estefania kind of took mine. Or I guess accessibility to people. I mean, it's still people. But being in the office space, I think is I'm starting to miss it more and more, because everyone you need to tap into is there. I just walk down the hall and I can ask someone a quick question, versus now I have to like ping them like, hey, do you have 15 minutes? Like, so it was a lot simpler to connect with everyone in the office.
Joe?
I'd say the campus. So like all of the campus in and of itself, we have basketball courts, gyms, the cafeterias, like just being in that environment, it's like its own little town almost. I miss that for sure.
Retweet. Elijah?
So I definitely second all of these, especially the people. But I got to be honest. We mentioned it at the beginning of the call. The food is great. A lot of different options, and I know it sounds silly, but I mean, hey, you don't have to pack your lunch. So that was a huge win. Now I have to make food, so that's what I miss.
And it's subsidized, right, Elijah?
You got it. It is subsidized, so saves you a couple coins. Yes.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone. This next question was submitted during registration. Someone wants to learn about the Latino experience at such a company. So I'll direct this one to Estefania, who is the lead of the outreach pillar in OLA. So Estefania, take it away.
Sure. So I think like many of us, right, HSF was such a great community to be a part of, and I was looking for the equivalent at wherever I was going to work. And so getting to be at Freddie Mac in, the finance field that I want to be in, but then also getting to supplement that community part has been great. And firsthand experience, you start off as a volunteer, passing microphones at an OLA event, and you start meeting the people. Berenice is laughing because she did it with me. But then you start meeting the people. So I had already met Andres, I met Christian, a few other OLA members who are also on this call. And you start hearing about the programming that we're doing, and it's like, oh, well, what if we tried this, right? And our culture is so great about building relationships. And so as you progress through, and if you're interested to be in the leadership role and show that you have ideas that you want to implement, events like these are the best way to pay it forward. And so as a Latina and someone that wants to build up our community, this has been one of the most fun experiences to supplement my day-to-day job.
Thanks, Estefania. So Joe, you mentioned campus earlier, and someone is interested to hear about what kind of the office space at Freddie when we were in office is like. Do you want to speak on that a little bit?
Yeah, of course. So, and it's a little, I think the question mentioned, like, is it cubicles or is it open? And it's weird because it's kind of both. So like you have your own desk and you have a separation between, you and your coworker or whomever, but it's really open. So like it's not like you're just enclosed in a little desk all day. Then, I mean, yeah, I guess, does that answer the question completely? I mean, it's really spacious in and of itself. So you don't feel like you're just trapped, but it's still divided enough as to where you feel like you're not distracted when you're doing work, when you need to focus. Yeah, I guess that's kind of all I have to say about it. Does anybody want to add anything else to that?
No, I think you captured it pretty well. And there's just like bunch of cool like artwork around campus and like not your desk but general places to work and bridges and stuff. So it's pretty cool all around. Thanks, Joe. Okay, so I know that we were almost at the top of the hour. So one of our last questions, Elijah, I'll direct this one to you. Do you feel like through your job at Freddie Mac, you've been able to make a true impact on people's lives?
Yeah, that's a great question because I think that's something that we all strive to do, right? Even if we are an analyst, if we are a VP, whatever, is we want to make an impact, and that's why, ideally, why we're working and the money. But yeah, I think I have made an impact, and I think sometimes you have to, look for opportunities to make an impact as well if you don't initially feel like you're making it. But I think the important part is, being involved in BRGs is equally important as the work that you're doing on the job. And so making an impact to the business, but also making an impact to the folks that you are working with and around. So yes, to summarize.
Awesome. Thanks, Elijah. Okay, well, we are just at time, so I want to give a huge thanks to all of our panelists and all of our guest speakers that joined us throughout the call. Your thoughts were very insightful and helpful, so thank you for that. And thank all of you who joined today from HSF. We really appreciate you guys taking the time to learn more about Freddie Mac and hear about some of our experiences. We hope that this was insightful and helpful for you as well. As we've mentioned throughout the call, if you have any questions, feel free to email any of the contacts that you saw or the OLA recruitment inbox. And the email can be found on the screen. With that, if you'd like to book a one-on-one mentorship session with one of us or another OLA member, please reach out. We're happy to do resume reviews, mock interviews, or talk about program opportunities overall, and we'd love to do so. So please don't hesitate to reach out to any of us. We're here to help, and we're interested to see where your professional career starts. So with that, thanks again, and we look forward to hearing from you guys.